Mama said don't talk to strangers? That's okay. We'll do it for you. Welcome to the Bar Talk Podcast, where we talk to interesting people doing interesting shit.
If I ever start a podcast, that's what it'll be.
Outhouse?
Talking shit from the outhouse.
Fair enough.
I think it works. I better have some of this now.
So there was a bit of a wordplay with the men before you in the family, right? With the names.
Yes.
So your
My
dad's
grandfather and my father.
Yeah. So it goes.
My grandfather is John Outhouse, and his middle initial is P. So John P. Outhouse.
So
and then my
people
father's name is Lou.
Going to the loo. So they couldn't come up with some for you guys? What?
No,
Like
I don't think you could top those. Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean,
What do they call it in England, Ben? A water closet, right? WC or something like that. Maybe your initials could be
called
WC.
like a latrine. Is it a latrine or
Winston
something?
Churchill Outhouse.
Well, the loo is one.
The loo.
Yeah, the Lou, and that's
his
my
dad.
dad's
Yeah,
name.
so
Yeah.
that's the polite way.
Does this mean that Lou and Joan had more like taste to just stop that tradition? Is that what we're assuming
Yeah,
here?
I would think. I hope so.
Yeah, like,
Otherwise,
enough
you
potty
can look at
jokes.
it as like, well, maybe no one was clever enough to even pick up on it in the first place.
Couldn't have been an accident.
So who knows?
I don't think that's an accident.
No, I think the family's kind of too funny and they like to laugh a lot. So I agree. Like, I think it was probably intentional.
Nothing like a joke that lives on there.
Lives on almost forever.
Almost forever. Then it's written in
Yeah.
stone on a tombstone
Exactly.
somewhere.
So I guess it does live forever.
It kind of does. So do you have names picked out for your kids? You maybe need to keep the tradition going.
Well, I'm 42, so no, not yet. But you never know.
Never know. Well, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
First guest
First
on the podcast.
guest.
First guest.
Oh, man. You
First-
couldn't do any better, eh?
No.
Oh, man.
I was like, who's the biggest celebrity I know? Let me see.
Oh,
here.
gosh. You know far greater celebrities than me.
Yeah, but none of them would return my calls.
Yeah, so then maybe does that mean you don't really know them then?
No, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
That root beer is delicious.
Thank you. Yeah. You guys had a few of them at the show the other night, huh?
We did. We're going to have a few more at an upcoming show.
That's right. That's
June
right.
1st.
That's awesome. So what do you call that? It's not. Do you still call it CD release? What do you call it?
Album release show.
Album release?
Party, yep.
But we just did a little prep here before you arrived, and we listened to the EP.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's out today, right?
Yeah, it's out today.
Yeah. May 17th,
May
recording
17th,
day. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's
whenever
pretty cool.
this is going to be released,
Yeah.
this episode.
Yeah. People will
We're
already
in the
be old
past.
news. It'll be already old news.
The old news, people forget about it by
Yeah,
now.
we were in here
Knows
jamming
exactly
out
what
to
it
Tide and Timbre. Preparing. Yeah. So 6 songs.
Yep.
The name of it is, so people can find it on
Feeling pretty good.
Feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's on what platforms?
All of them.
All of them.
And you know what? I think there's somewhere up to like 200 streaming platforms out there.
So you don't do that automatically. Like you don't do that manually.
No.
It's got to be singing at
Yeah, you
service,
kind of
right?
upload it to a service and then they take care of it for you. Thank
Wow.
goodness.
Yeah.
Because that's time consuming enough as it is.
Yeah. Because that
So-
must show how old I am, because I only know about like 2.
Yeah, well,
Apple
most
Music
people
and
only know Spotify, Apple, and there's a Deezer is gaining some traction, I believe. I don't know much about
Would
it.
YouTube be? YouTube would be one of
YouTube,
them.
yep.
So what about your stuff? I know you got some really great music videos. You guys have invested a lot in music videos. What's the company that helps you guys with that?
Green Light Studios out of Yarmouth.
Yeah.
yeah.
Some pretty cool music.
They're
That White
awesome.
Lightning was fun.
They're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to talk about the videos as if they have nothing to do with me because they're really cool to watch. Like, because they really did, you know.
They did it.
They did it.
Wow. That's awesome.
Because if the footage was up to Nate and I, the video would be about 30 seconds. They really helped fill in the gap. We were like, yeah, we picture this moonshiner going through the woods, and then, then us play something on the guitar. Yeah,
well,
then it's over.
Maybe you guys stick to being rock stars and let the music video guys.
Yeah,
be music
at least
video
rock
guys.
star wannabes, at least.
Well, you got the facial hair.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel bad we're not, the podcast is our first episode. We're not big enough to have like hair and makeup yet, but luckily
probably a
you must
good
have
thing.
someone at home.
I'm all
that
hair, no makeup.
Prepares the hair and makeup.
All hair, no makeup. No, Amy helps me cut my hair.
Yeah.
When, yeah.
Keeps you looking
Keeps
presentable.
me, except for it's been a while. But I think we're gonna get on that this weekend though. So
The grooming session.
yeah,
Mm.
got to get ready for June 1st.
Like chimps
Yep.
grooming each other. Well, it is tick season.
That's true.
I think there's already a country song about that, isn't there? Checking.
Oh
for
yeah,
ticks?
yeah.
I think so.
Brad Paisley.
How romantic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually one of the first country tunes that I listened to like closely,
Mm-hmm.
and was like, holy, what clever lyrics.
Oh, he's a brilliant
and then
lyricist.
that's what really turned me over to country music.
Really?
It was like,
Oh,
wow,
yeah. So
that's
that wasn't a natural thing for you.
No, I don't, and I still don't really listen to a lot of country music.
Says the
But-
country guy.
Yeah, but I love playing it.
Yeah.
It's fun. Like,
Huh.
it's kind of weird. I'm the same way with 80s music.
Mm-hmm.
There's elements of 80s music that I love, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't love all of the 80s elements all together in one song.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what
a
I'm
little
saying?
overdone.
Right. And I'm like that with country music. I love twang, and I love that twangy licks on the Telecaster, but I don't love it all in one. But if you can take like a rock sound, introduce, a twangy riff and even a twangy vocal, that's
Yeah.
totally cool. With maybe a big rock anthem. First guest, first catastrophe.
Wrecking the studio
Yeah.
already. Well, we
You
were
know,
just saying
that's-
before you got here, like Ben and I, neither one of us like typically listen to country music. It's not something that either of us like gravitate towards.
Right.
I found myself like, this is how little I know about country music. I've been following you. Well, your first show was at Roofhound in Digby
right.
like 8 years ago.
Our first
Right.
300 shows, right?
And back then, I thought Tide and Timbre wrote Wagon Wheel. That's how little I know about like seriously. Like that's a good song. Because I really knew nothing about country music. I wasn't
that's hilarious.
wasn't raised on it, right? And then my dad raises me on rock and roll.
Yep.
It was like Deep Purple, and I had to hear about how their first date in 1970 whatever was to this new Deep Purple thing and Rolling Stones shit like that. And then here like 10, 15 years ago, my dad goes and turns country on me. It's like, what are you
Really?
doing? Like you've musically abandoned me. I feel like a
interesting.
musical orphan a little bit. And then my son on the other side of me turns country, and they're nagging me, right? So then I'm like it's
They're-
more pressure from all sides.
It seems to be that's where the party's at these days.
It does.
Lately,
Yeah, and we were just saying before, it's like straight up country. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go listen to Billy Ray Cyrus or something
No.
like I don't know, like, or Travis Tritt, not that, but like there's this new sound
Yeah.
of country that's almost got like that blues sound. Like you guys kind of have like a blues.
like Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton,
He
love
could
Chris Stapleton.
easily be in
Not
a
country.
blues rock
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing country about him
I know, except for the hat.
for what we're used to. Like
Yeah,
in
they
that
just have to
general
see
sense.
what hat they're wearing to put them in the right category.
Exactly.
Well, like, and then just over the winter, I really get into Zach Bryan. Is that how you say it? Brian? Or Brian?
I think so. Yeah.
Brian.
I only know a couple of his tunes.
Great. I
Yeah,
love his stuff.
he is great.
But it's almost like rock, grunge kind of. It's
Yeah.
like, it's got this honesty that you just couldn't find in any
Right.
music for a while.
And when Tide and Timbre first started, that's kind of what we saw. We saw this happy blend between like grunge or heavy rock meets country.
Yeah.
Because some of the Canadian rock bands, like even Nickelback or anybody like that, and people hate Nickelback, but that's fine. But if you were to strip their music down, it's almost country.
Well, it's the
And-
roots are the same, right?
right.
Like it all roots in the blues.
Yeah. And it's just, they just beefed it up,
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
it so that it blowing your ears off
Yeah.
in an arena or something. And yeah, like I didn't really grow up listening to like Merle Haggard and things like that. So there's lots of country artists out there that tribute the really old stuff to
Yeah.
their, that's who inspired them, but not me, and it kind of sucks in a way because I don't take the time to give it enough appreciation. Not that I don't appreciate it, but I mean, everyone loves the Duke Boys theme song. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's Merle Haggard. I think
I don't know.
I think so. I don't know.
I don't know. I think
I
about
think it is though.
I just see short shorts when you say that. Like
Me too.
5-year-old me just
White
zones
Jeep
out.
and short shorts.
Yeah, like what's going on here? So I remember like my granddad, like the one who had the roof hound, like the original Joe. I don't know, he loved Johnny Cash. And I remember growing up hearing about Johnny Cash and thinking, you know, it's kind of like this old blah, blah, blah. But I mean, he had like, you know, he was a struggling man. He struggled with a lot of issues. He lost a kid in a car accident. You know, he really struggled. And then, you know, Johnny Cash was like this artist that kind of connected with that kind of stuff. Well, Johnny Cash's brother died, and like there's a lot of heartache and trauma and stuff like that. And I just dismissed that until, when was it that the movie came out? The Johnny Cash movie, Joaquin Phoenix, like early 2000s?
I think so.
And that just kind of like, I was like, I gotta look. And oh, and I heard someone say that someone accused Johnny Cash of being the granddaddy of grunge. That's what it was.
Oh,
might be a Kurt Cobain quote or something like that. Maybe I think
feel
someone
like that just popped up in the socials recently too.
Maybe someone talked about Johnny Cash as being like the grandfather of grunge because he really wasn't that proficient on the guitar. He just kind of had a very simple.
He was kind of sloppy.
Yeah. And then
he gave the rest of us a chance.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. He just did it with confidence and attitude, and everyone's like, "This shit is good." And I think that is when I decided I need to give this shit another look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me a huge fan of just music in general. Like I don't really have a particular style that I do naturally. Like there's just things that appeal to me, and I'll tend to listen to the same shit over and over and over. But whether it's flipping through Instagram or talking to you or other friends, they'll be like, "Hey, check out this song." Oh,
yeah, you got
like I've bought albums before. I bought a Big Wreck album once, and I was probably 5 years before I listened to it.
Really?
Bought it and was just kind of like
digital?
I'm just not digging it right now. And then the mood hit, and I was like, "Ooh, this is my favorite album."
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm kind of glad we don't have to buy albums anymore. Like I just have the Apple Music.
And it was digital.
Yeah, I just love being able to just find anything I want right
Same.
now and listen to it, and it's so good.
Oh, good thing I didn't bring you a CD.
Well, I don't even think I have anything to play it on.
Meant to. No, I know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
But-
So June 1st, what do you call that? Still a CD release?
Yeah, because people may not listen to CDs, but people want a physical.
Yeah.
At least I think they do.
Well, you sell
I
them.
do.
You sell them.
Anything physical. We went
Yeah.
to you went
Well,
to
it's a way
Winter
to
Sleep
support-
last
yeah.
week too. I did as
Awesome.
well. I was like, I need a T-shirt.
Yeah, Jeremy sporting the Winter
Sporting
Sleep,
the Winter Sleep
t-shirt.
t-shirt.
We know a bunch of the guys from the band, and you
Yeah.
get a Still Fired
So-
hat. The boys from Still Fired,
That's
supporting
right.
local.
As soon as you go to CD, that's what makes you legit, though.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
yeah. That's something from the 90s that we still hold on
It's
to.
kind of true though, because I think when we first got started, we didn't want to play any gigs until we had a CD, because we felt like the CD.
Legitimize it.
Yeah, and it tells the venue owners that you're serious
Yeah.
enough that you've spent thousands of your own dollars to put into it, and so therefore, I don't want to play for free.
Yeah,
We'll play for cheap,
yeah.
but we're not just gonna.
To me,
because
it's
I'll
like,
play for free at home. I'll play all day at home.
Yeah,
You know,
because I'm always introducing people to friends stuff to Tide and Timbre. And to me, the way to legitimize it is like they're on Apple Music. To me, that seems
Right.
like that's like a stamp of approval.
and that's kind of the resume.
yeah,
The CD shows people that people that are kind of in and understand what it takes to make a CD. They're like, oh, they're sinking money into this.
Yeah.
And then Apple Music is a way to get that CD really cheap.
It's amazing what's happened with the technology of music and producing anything.
Yeah.
It's like I was playing bands in the 90s. Well, you and I played in a little bit of band in, what was it, like
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s,
Yep.
yeah.
Like
And back
2001 or 2.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
really go anywhere, but it was fun.
Down the road.
Yeah.
That was cool.
But we've dabbled in music a little bit here and there through the years.
Yeah.
But like the technology was so expensive and hard to access and not very good, and you really had to know what you're doing. And like now, like if things are so accessible.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
The only reason why I like to pay for recordings is because I like a fresh set of ears listening.
It's the skill set, not the equipment.
Yeah, and like we record with Scott Ferguson, and we love the guy, and we love what he brings to the table, but he might only say what he offers a song might be 1% of the song when it's all said and done.
Sometimes
But
the
that
1%.
song isn't anything without that 1%.
Yeah.
He contributes more than that though, but it's it's makes it worth it, and he knows his job really well. So mixing and mastering,
You don't have to
and
worry
all
about
that, you don't have to worry.
That's
about
why I
it.
like Ben's here.
Yeah,
It's like setting up a studio like this. Like this is
Yeah.
something that like many years ago, like you had to be fucking Howard Stern to have
Yeah.
something like this.
exactly.
And now it's like,
And a control room, and you know, you had
now
to
you can
spend
go
lots of
to
money.
music shop, Amazon,
Yeah.
Basket, and a couple stops at
Yeah.
Walmart, and you have yourself a home studio.
That's true.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, even though it's easy access, meaning everyone can do it now, you still have to be good to for it to go anywhere.
But before you got to be
know,
good, you got to be disciplined.
Yeah,
But that's the truth of everything.
that's true.
Because you guys have been at this. So you started your first show. It'll be like August, like 2016.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because we've been
Started
friends
around the same
forever. We
time.
kind of both kicked each other in the ass. Like I'm
Yeah.
ready to take this big jump with going professional with brewing and cooking and stuff
Yep.
like that. And you would come every day after work and help me build the building. That's where you met
That's where I met my current
your
girlfriend.
current girlfriend. Yeah, yeah. So, and it's kind of inspiring each other to like take that big step.
Mm-hmm.
Because something I hope to do with this podcast is like encourage people that like everybody you might see like is successful or doing something. They all start it at the same spot. Scared, insecure, not
Yeah.
sure. Like, should I do this? Could I do this? Like, and getting the courage to start is like a big part. But then the courage to stick with it is a whole other thing.
It's a lot easier
Because
to
you
quit.
you guys first started doing live shows, you and your brother, 8 years ago. But
Yep.
how long have you been playing music? You and him, like
Oh, he started playing guitar when he was 7.
7,
I think it was 7.
and he's old as shit.
Yeah. That's what I tell people anyway. He's only a few years older than me.
Just tell him he's your uncle.
And Nathan,
He's not here to defend himself. I didn't have enough mics, Nathan. Next time.
I'm pretty sure I almost feel like someone's asked if he was my father. I feel like that came up at a show once. It's amazing how many people don't realize we're brothers.
Yeah?
They just
Really?
think we're buddies.
Really?
Yeah.
The hair like that?
Yeah, beards like that.
Really,
no.
yeah. So he started at 7
He started
years
at
old.
7, and he was my first non-professional like guitar god. 'Cause he was good.
Yeah.
Like he just had a natural ear and just picked it up and just figured it out. And then I kept trying to chase him down, like the competitiveness, wanting to be better than him.
Little brother syndrome.
And it just never happened. And then a cousin of ours said, "Man, you got to quit, like, relax, man." I was like, "No, I don't want to relax. I want to get better. I want to be better than him." He said, "When did you start playing guitar?" I was like, 17.
Yeah.
When did he start? 7. He's got 10 years on you.
Yeah.
You may never catch him.
Because you spend a lot of time on the basketball court those
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
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 Now, I learned a few chords when I was like 10. I could play Bad Moon Rising and maybe Fishing in the Dark. That was it.
Yeah.
But it didn't interest me enough. Drums interested me,
Yeah.
but couldn't afford drums. So it never, I did get a drum kit when I was 16. Never really got that good at it. But anyway, but at 17, I was watching The Cosby Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we even say that anymore?
I
know
don't
if we can say
care.
that.
Because it has nothing to do with Bill Cosby. It has everything to do with B.B. King. He was on an episode.
There was a lot of music featured in that show, wasn't
and
there?
he
Yeah.
came in, sat in the middle of the living room with Lucille, his guitar,
Wow.
and played these blues licks. And I was like, oh, I want to sound like that.
Oh, that's infectious, right?
Yeah, and that's what got me hooked. Yeah. And then I heard friends talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan, but didn't know who they were talking of. And then I came home late one night, like a Friday or a Saturday night, turned on PBS, and it was this Stevie Ray Vaughan on Austin City Limits on PBS.
Cool.
And got hooked to that. But I soon realized that I didn't ever want to try to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'm going to steal some moves, but I don't want to sit down and try to play Little Wing exactly like Stevie Ray, or even at all. Because they're
Yeah.
at this level, and
Like
I'm
when-
just gonna ruin it.
I got
I'll
started
butcher it.
in music, like it was the grunge era, so all
Yeah.
you needed was 3 chords. It was
Yeah.
like really
And
accessible.
3
back then.
strings.
Yeah, you didn't even need all your fucking strings. But it was like really accessible kind of music,
Yeah.
right? You had Green Day and Nirvana and some
Yeah.
things like that, and like kids could. It was possible in the '90s to just go down to the local Radio Shack, or whatever,
Yep.
get a cheap guitar, and wail on it. And
Yeah.
in hours, you could make something that kind of resembled music, and it was like. But I don't see kids with guitars anymore.
No,
Do you?
not really. Some.
Is it?
Some.
Not as much
But
as it used to
not
be. I
as
don't
much.
think.
But I don't think you see as many kids
Doing anything.
playing basketball, like sports like that either. But I think everything has its cycle. I mean, I'm kind of out of touch with it now. Maybe kids
Yeah,
are
we're old. Maybe
right
they're
back
gonna- so-
into ball again. I have no idea.
There are some young, really good young guitarists nowadays,
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
to be fair.
That is true, especially when you're paying attention to the socials. There's like prodigies on there that you're just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's...
I should probably
Some
quit.
7-year-old
I
somewhere
should
is telling
probably
you to
burn my
sit down
guitar.
and shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing now. Like with the access to so much information, all you need is a little ambition, and you can learn to do anything. Like I remember years ago, some lady in the church said, like, "Oh, who do you know to teach my son guitar lessons?" I said, "Don't go wasting your time with money
Yeah.
on guitar lessons. The kid has a guitar and access to YouTube. If they have any ambition,
exactly.
they'll figure it out. If you're just throwing money at it and time at it and driving them back and forth guitar lessons, like
Yeah, and
you don't need to.
I can't teach guitar. I don't know enough about it.
Says
I
the
can't-
semi-pro
I
musician.
can't teach it from the ground up.
Yeah.
If you know a few chords already and have a little bit of rhythm, the worst is trying to teach somebody anything to do with music and they can't even clap to the beat of a song. So then you're like, okay,
Yeah, maybe this
you're
isn't your
doomed.
gift.
Well, you might not be doomed. But there's nothing I can do for you
You
because it's
came
all
here-
on feel.
Yeah, you came ruined right out of the
Go
gate.
start reading some tablature or something.
Yeah,
You know,
find a
that's-
different hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
So-
access to information. That's why I love podcasting. I've been listening to podcasts for like 12 years probably. As long as they've been coming out.
Probably have been too, actually.
Yeah, and like in the early days, I was like one of
Yeah.
the only people I knew that was even doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how I stumbled on it, but that's how I,
bet
learned to
beer.
brew.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say,
that's how
bet
I
it was
learned to brew.
brewing.
Yeah, it was.
Probably Googling it and then
working on the
probably-
farm. Yeah, and I'd listen to like 6 or 8 hours a day of podcasting, and there was like, lucky for me, there was like 10 years. The Brewing Network out of California had like
Oh, okay.
10-year catalog of back
Sweet.
issues, so I could download and listen to it all day. Yeah.
Well, that's how I learned a bit about the behind the scenes of music. Came across the CD Baby DIY musician podcast or whatever. And my job at the time sometimes was sitting in an excavator. I'd plug that into the radio and
Yeah.
listen to 6 or 7 episodes a day.
It's kind of cool that you can just chase your obsession.
It's true.
Yeah, like it's way easier to chase because
Yeah.
when we were kids, like even just getting music was hard.
Yeah.
You had to wait for the Weymouth Variety Store to get a copy of Nevermind,
Oh,
and 6 would show up, and they'd be sold out, and you got to wait for
It's a-
Ray Hutman to get 6 more
Ah.
copies. You know what I mean? Like it's so different now. Because here, like a few minutes ago, we're waiting for you to arrive, and we just pull up your album,
yeah.
and it's there.
Yeah.
Like it's so different.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder if we appreciate things as much that it's so easy, but maybe we do.
I think we do. I think that's why. I think that's why people have short attention spans with it. That's why they listen
What'd you
to
say?
songs and not full albums. It's almost like
Maybe
there's
I'm
almost
old.
too much of an appreciation for it in a way. Like
Yeah.
because people are like, "Oh, that was a good song. What's next?" Oh,
Wow, my kids are like that. Drives me crazy. And a couple of younger ladies I've dated were like that
I'm
too.
both.
They'll change the song before it's done. I'm like, it's past the good part. I'm like, but the song isn't
Ah.
done. Like, just play an album. Like, I'm from there. Like,
Yeah.
I remember getting into my dad's record collection,
yeah.
and you just play the vinyl, let it do its thing. Like to me, it's like the vinyl.
But there were times though. There were days.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I did it a few times.
You're younger than me.
No, you
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
do that.
you-
It's a different thing, though. It's completely...
It is.
It's just different. It's not better
Yeah.
or worse. It's just different.
Agreed.
I don't know, but me, it's just my point of view, I guess. But I want to see that in the context of the album, of what the artist was going through at that time.
Yeah.
Because
Because
just
some
knowing-
albums, you know, some albums, maybe the order of the songs matter, but then there's some albums where the order of the songs really matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like this intro song really ties in thematically and dynamics and everything is just, you know, but those are the genius musicians.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, there's a song on the EP, Who Was the Girl? Ended up being in the exact same key as the song following it, which we didn't even know until we were picking the order of the songs. We're like, oh, well, why don't we just get it to... It doesn't completely blend right in, but if you listen close, it almost sounds like you're picking up right where that song left off, just all in one motion. It's like, well, you might as well do it if you can. So we
got
did.
a flow.
Yeah.
So what about diss tracks? You guys have any diss tracks coming out?
What does that even mean?
We were talking about, but like, you
B-side
no,
material?
Like the whole Kanye and Drake thing. Not
I'm
Kanye,
not
no,
keeping up
Drake
with
and
that.
Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
They got like 4 songs each now, just accusing each other of horrible shit. I think it must be good for business.
Oh,
I think
I
you
would
guys
think
should
they're
pick,
probably
like,
best buds too.
Probably.
They're just
Well,
not
I don't
telling
know.
anyone.
One accused the other guy of beating his wife and molesting kids.
Well,
So
I
think it's
haven't
gone-
paid that much attention to
No,
it.
but maybe it's good for you guys. Should pick another like local country artist, start making like diss tracks back and forth. Maybe.
That's a good idea. Got to pick someone who we
Country
think
music
we're
works.
actually better than. No.
Yeah, don't start talking shit to someone who's too good. I think Drake regrets picking a fight with Kendrick Lamar because he's pretty clever.
Probably. Yeah, they're both pretty clever.
It's gotten violent now, though.
Yeah, someone at Drake's
Bodyguard
got
got shot.
shot or something.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved in that. No,
They got big
sounds-
squirrels out there. It could have been a squirrel friggin' carrion, you know?
Sounds
Packing.
stressful.
Who knows?
Oh, my goodness. So Nathan started at 7.
Yep.
But you guys come by music pretty honestly, right?
I did start playing the cardboard cutout guitar probably around the same time. That was a big thing.
Yeah. But you're both your parents are musical. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mom is more theory though, so she can't really play by ear. And dad's a little bit of both. He can play by ear, can read a little bit of music, and dad can play like trumpet. Guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that,
Yeah. And John P.
Yeah.
he could play trumpet, harmonica, and then dad's mother played guitar, and so yeah.
It's like back in the day, right?
Uncle
Like, what
Fraser
else
was
did
right
you-
into Johnny Cash. Dad
Okay.
wasn't into Cash too much. Didn't really like him that much. Dad was huge into Marty Robbins. Mom liked the Beatles. And Uncle Fraser was into Johnny Cash. Uncle Lee was into CCR and the Beach Boys. So Uncle Lee gave Nate and I CCR and Beach Boys tape.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love
sorry.
CCR.
And he just said, which one of you wants the CCR? Which one of you? I chose Beach Boys, Nate. But we just, that's what we listened to.
Yeah.
Roy Orbison, CCR, and Beach Boys were
Nice.
the... And then later discovered Dad was big into Cat Stevens. And I'd meet people who had Dad as a camp counselor.
Okay.
And they'd ask me, they're like, does your dad still play Cat Stevens? Like,
Yeah.
didn't know he did.
You probably give
Oh,
that
he
up
played
after
it
you
around
turned
the-
Muslim, right?
That's all he did around the campfires.
you-
JCP was played Cat
Yeah.
Stevens tunes.
Because your dad was a preacher growing up.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
your mom and dad were playing in the church. I remember like vacation Bible
Yeah.
school and shit like that. Your
Yeah.
mom and dad were up there playing piano, guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see Lou maybe like putting
when
away
he
the Cat
changed his
Stevens
name
when he
to
turned Muslim.
Yusuf, he probably
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Funny.
I like Cat Stevens. Even his newer stuff is.
Is
pretty
he still
good,
making
actually.
music?
Yep.
Oh.
Actually, he re-released. What was his big album? I can't remember the name of it now. I'm lacking a lot of sleep today.
Right.
Anyway,
You remember
I
the
think
name
he
of your own album.
remastered it, maybe even re-recorded some of the vocal tracks too, to just bring the volumes up so it sounds a little more modern and stuff. Sounds good. Yep. But that's what I grew up on, was a little bit of Beatles, a little CCR, Beach Boys, and any TV show that would have a musician on it, because we didn't have cable.
Right.
And didn't have time to just sit at a radio and wait all day for your favorite song. So we were outside, played a lot of road hockey, ran around the woods, And then we'd watch Hockey Night in Canada every Saturday night. But then we would also listen to the radio, and we'd hit record on a blank cassette tape. And hopefully overnight, they'd play a song. Like, we would just turn the volume down even if we didn't want to listen all night. Just hit record and then listen to it the next day.
Because the media has changed so much.
Yeah.
And even like social activities have changed so much. So like when we were kids, we'd go to church and have like 3 channels and shit like that. But like the generation before us, like your parents, no TV, maybe a radio.
And a fire.
But a lot of them knew how to play instruments, and they were entertaining in homes, and they were going to church, and like church was like a social hub for people back then, right? Like you'd go to church for all your,
it's true,
everything, your social connections, music. Like that's where a lot of people learned about music.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's kind of changing a little, because of course the church culture is fading fast, I would say, in our world now. And it's got to be missing out on a little bit of that music. Because I remember growing as a kid, I remember when I was really little, the hymnal. Yeah. And like, you see the lyrics in there, but all that, I just thought that was decoration. I didn't know that meant anything, all the little music.
I remember.
I thought it was pretty old before I realized. I thought that just means this is like music.
This really long song that you didn't like, you're like, oh, I really hope they're only doing the first, second, and last verse. And then when they announce, we're going to stand and sing all 6 verses of it, you're like,
thanks, Lou.
I'm hungry. I just want to go home.
Yeah. But I think probably a lot of people learned about music in that church context.
I think.
Yeah. I remember you saying we were chatting not long ago. So like and I remember you kids being up on the stage with your mom and dad, like in the church, like pretty young, right?
Yeah.
And then here you and your brother are becoming musicians.
Yeah.
Playing in bars.
Yeah.
Which like when we were growing up, that was a big no-no.
No, exactly. But the way I look at it is you're getting paid to play, and if you mess up, nobody cares because everyone's drunk. Church, you're playing for free, and everyone cares when you mess up.
They're all judging. Maybe a little more communion wine for y'all. You won't mind me missing this note. Like that was another. I think that was another big part of where you and I bonded, because I mean we knew each other from really little from some church stuff, and we played some basketball. Yeah, and then we ended up being in Bible college together. Right, and I kind of went through that arc, and then I think around the same time we both was going away from the church. And I think that's probably because I've always remembered you. I remember your parents picking you up in this great big silver Chevy Suburban. Remember that big old beast of a thing? Yeah. See, like I tell people, like we've been friends since childhood, since the cradle. But like I think we got really close is when we both kind of were like stepping away from that traditional church kind of background at the same time. I remember, like, even when we were in college, like, I was going on to be a pastor. And
I thought I was going
to. But I remember you being pretty adamant, like, that's not the life for me.
No.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the teaching. Like, I enjoyed the learning. But it's hard. Yeah. It's a hard profession. I don't know how people do it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean,
I still have good friends that are in the ministry. And kudos to them. Like, legit. Yeah. Because I couldn't do it.
I did a decade and almost did me in.
But I think the issue for me is that I know that doesn't necessarily mean my inner compass is going to completely change, but maybe you might explore new beliefs. And I don't even mean new religious beliefs. I just mean what's that about? I don't really know anything about this or that or whatever. And in the end, you usually end up coming right back to who you've always been. Yeah. It's just that journey's, broaden your horizons and maybe you're less judgmental or something. But I just couldn't imagine myself being in a paid position to have to basically regurgitate the same material over and over. And I'm not against that at all.
Just didn't feel right.
It just didn't feel right for me because it felt like you're towing a party line.
And you need to do it with absolute confidence.
And since you're being paid to tow the party line, you kind of have to tow it whether you believe it or not. Yeah. And I think it's okay to do it as long as you believe it.
Yeah.
But I was always just kind of like, I
had a conflict with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 24 years old leading a church and expected to have absolute confidence in all this, and I don't. So there was like this conflict in me.
And if
then-
you're not confident in it, other people are going to
Oh,
know
yeah.
you're not. And then,
it's not right.
yeah, no.
And then, yeah, and it was really refreshing when I was able to walk away from that because for the first time in my life, like, phew, I don't have to know shit. It's okay for me to
Yeah.
be completely ignorant. It's okay for me to just. That's why I call myself agnostic now because I just don't know. I'm not saying there is no God. I'm not an atheist. Certainly not an atheist. Happy for people, kind of almost envious of people that can have that kind of faith. But I just don't have it. I just don't have that. But I certainly am appreciative of that, like foundation that I've had, that the values. And
I
stuff
wouldn't
like
go
that.
back and change a thing.
No, I just feel it feels so good to just go about my life, and I don't have to know anything for sure.
Yeah.
Got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
Well, and we tend to add more pressure
Yeah.
than is what's needed too.
It was very freeing, just embracing the mystery of shit. Yeah.
It's true. I think that's the appeal to music. You don't know where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
You start writing a song, you might finish it in 20 minutes. Might take you 3 years.
Yeah. And what does it mean?
And exactly.
Yeah.
I was working in the woods last summer and thought of this idea for a song. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm not going to say the idea just yet. But I got home and I went through my voice memos. I was like, I got to have a tune already there. Found one. I was like, oh, yeah, that'll work. And had a rough idea. And I just finished the song from beginning to end like a month ago. So it's been almost a year.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
I tried to force it a few times and just couldn't get it quite.
Yeah.
You know, Nathan came up with one word. Basic, and it changed. I was like, now I can work with the rest.
But that's the way it is with everything. Because, like, how long did you and your brother talk about being Tide and Timbre?
Right.
A long time.
Yeah.
How long did I talk
Yeah,
about
well,
opening
when
Roof
we were in PEI at the same time, when I left, that was one of the, I'm going to go home and me and my brother's going to start a band.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't.
For how long? How long was it?
Oh, man. Well, I was 23.
That 2002-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you
so
didn't
I think I
actually do the
we
first
didn't
show
actually-
until 2016.
Yeah.
Wow. Let the listeners think about that, because sometimes we can have these dreams and we can beat on ourselves for not executing and be down on ourselves.
And I ruined it. I came home, worked for 5 or 6 years.
Well,
and
you
then
obviously didn't ruin it,
And
'cause
then
here you
decided
are.
I wanted to go back to PEI. So I went back to PEI, went to UPEI, and then was like, I just got to quit this schooling thing and just go back to work.
Yeah.
So then I went home and played in a wedding, and the bride's uncle, be Rob Wagner. If he doesn't want his name mentioned, you can cut his name out of the. But
we
no,
can
he's a
bleep
cool
it.
guy. Invited me to play open mic in Middleton at the Capitol.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, I'm not really a solo act, and I'd rather do something with Nate. And so he had written, I think, the song Facebook, and he already had Singing for My Supper in the bag, and that was it. So I messaged him and was like, hey, man, this guy wants us to play at the Capitol. You want to do that? And I was working night shift then. He showed up that Friday afternoon. I just woke up. We practiced a couple tunes, headed for Middleton, and we played Facebook, and it got people's attention. The opening riff, people just kind of stopped doing what they were doing and kind of looked at the stage. And then when he started singing, the phones came out and they started taking a video. And so we just kind of looked at each other like, So then on the way home, we're like, well, let's do something.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I got some money saved to record.
Wow.
And I said, well, I got a little bit saved too, so we can put our money together and maybe write another song or two. So we wrote Light It Up and Run and What It Is You're Doing to Me. And then went, recorded this 6-song EP and didn't have a band name yet. And it came because Scott, the producer, wanted to put together a mix CD, if you that's
A compilation.
a compilation but it was online. He said, I want to put this song of your guys on there, but you don't have a band name. Can you come up with something? So we just basically spent the day going, well, we grew up near water. We like the woods. And I just started writing down duos like Brooks and Dunn and all the, and ZZ Top and all these bands. And then I was like, Tides, Woods, Timber, Two Tides, Timber and Tide and Timbre? Yeah, I like it. Let's do it.
There you go.
So, and I did. I told Scott, I said, yeah, give us a day. We'll come up with something.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, we had Tide and Timbre. And quite a few people, it was like, we love your name. We absolutely love it. And it's just like, good. We do too.
And my band in high school was called the Fudge Ducks, and it took us not very long
I
to
often
regret
use that name for swear words. I often go, Fudge Ducks.
Fudge Duck, yeah. It's pretty easy to make fun of, especially with other teenagers. So, yeah, we regretted that one pretty quick.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, finding the name is always the thing. Actually, Big Stink was going to be a band name.
Oh.
Remember? I think I floated that when you and I were playing music.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. And then I had that name in my pocket for years. And then I made this IPA that smells like pot, and I'm like, that's the chance to use that.
Yeah, I think that like a couple times we jammed at your house,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when you were just starting to brew your own beer, maybe even before that.
Maybe before that, yeah. Because at the
Back
the
when
name
your
Big
kids
Stink,
were just real little.
yeah.
The bracelet days.
Yes, the bracelet
I
feud.
still have it.
Do you still have it?
I shouldn't have said anything because one of these days I just plan on wearing it, showing
Yeah.
up when Lucas is around or
Yeah.
any of your kids that would remember.
How long did that go back? It's like this game Jeremy and my kids played for more than a decade, probably.
Yeah.
They'd steal this bracelet.
They made
from
me
each
a
other.
bracelet with my name on it.
Yeah.
Like one of those rubber band ones.
Mm-hmm.
So then I don't know how it started, but we'd start, I think one of them took it from me. So then I'd wrestle, get
Yeah.
it back, and then I'd take it home. And then when I'd come visit again, they'd wrestle me, get it back.
They
So
team
then,
you up on you.
yeah, so then they'd have to hide it and I'd have to try to find it the next time I came
Mm-hmm.
back. So it kind of became this thing. So then I got it back. And then it just kind of got forgotten about. But now here it is.
I don't know if you could take Lucas now. He's 6'6"
No, I definitely
and going
no.
to the gym.
Yeah, no.
You might not want to restart that one.
no,
You might lose that
I'm
one.
just gonna keep it. Maybe I'll send him a picture of it.
Yeah, just send a picture.
You'll never
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah. He's a big boy.
Oh, I told him. I said, "Man, you're like hitting your head in the doorway going
know.
through here." So
Yeah.
he's taller than you. Then
Hey, now.
are you
no.
6'5"? Or you're 6'6"?
I'm-
Same age or
Hey,
same
hey,
size?
Whoa,
Same
whoa.
age.
Don't let the kid find out that. I think we're the same height. I hold.
Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
are on paper,
Hey, well,
but you know what happens
one
with
stage.
age.
yeah. No,
Ben knows where I'm going with this.
yeah. Well, Ben's kid is 3 now, so you don't have to worry about that. But she already may be smarter. I've seen her outsmart Ben, and Ben's one of the smartest people I know.
Oh yeah, well she's also getting pretty big as well.
She's a super baby. She's super boss baby.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Gonna kick your ass one day.
probably.
Give it a year.
Yeah, she's cute and smart.
You're doomed,
She
man.
got more going for
You're
her.
doomed.
More going for her than you, buddy.
I'm gonna try some of this.
I hope so.
Oh.
man.
Yeah, so June 1st, the event at Taco Cat. I don't know
Yeah.
if Taco Cat.
Taco Cat and Smith's Cove.
And that's a full band experience. I
Full
haven't seen you
band.
guys with the full band yet.
It's gonna be a time.
I bet.
Our drummer is from a band called Pretty Archie,
Mm-hmm.
and they're, to me anyway, they're a pretty big deal
Yeah.
out of Cape Breton. Like they've got a pretty big following on Spotify, and I believe they've even played in Europe a couple times, or I don't know where all the details. I've only met them once, but we played with the drummer a few times now.
Okay.
And the bass player, Shane, awesome guy, super laid back, super chill, love him. But I don't really know a whole lot about him either. Like far as like, I've asked him, I just don't remember the name of the bands he's been in the past. But
Okay.
he's pretty well known bass player and
Nice.
pretty solid, and they both learn pretty quick on the fly, which is good because
Yeah.
we've never had a rehearsal
pros.
before. So
Well, you never had a rehearsal, but you guys have played
we
together.
played, yeah.
How many times?
Sound check is rehearsal.
Well, that's when you got real pros.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I lied. The first time we played with him, we purposely showed up a day early, jammed for an evening.
Mm-hmm.
That was the rehearsal. And then, yeah, we've been really, really lucky. So the owner of that venue, he hooked us up because he called me one day. He's like, man, I've been listening to your music. There's no way I want you guys coming here playing this big stage just the two of you. I'm going to find you a bass player and a drummer. Like, okay. I'm game. Anytime, any chance to play an electric guitar, I'm game. So that's who he found was Redmond and Shane. And so since then, we're like, you guys interested in playing more shows? Like if we can get them? Absolutely. So, yeah, call on them whenever we can.
That's good.
Or whenever the gig affords us to be able to bring a band along.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because that's,
hard to make money in this.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a little easier with two, but then with two, it somewhat limits the size stages you're going to play. Well, not really, but, you know, I don't always want to just play acoustic all the time. Like, I want that big band feel.
Yeah.
I mean, we record the music because that's what we're hearing is the full band. But, yeah, nothing against acoustic
No, yeah.
shows. I mean, they're
They're
just
fun.
as fun.
You guys have packed some places and people always have a
Yeah,
really
and
good time.
like if you can strip the band away from the song and it's still a good song,
Yeah,
then that
still a
means
good
it is a
time.
good song.
People are having a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the last show before, well, you guys were here at Roofhound last week,
last
but
weekend.
before that, you were down at the club in Clare.
Right.
That was a banging
That was,
night.
that was
so
such a
much
fun night. And that was
Yeah.
the first time we ever played. Like,
Yeah.
it's legit in my backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I live 2 minutes down the road.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
That's not going to interfere, is it? Stirring. I'm
Got it.
stirring.
So, what is? We've talked about the past, I guess, but what is the future? Like, what is the goal?
I have no idea.
Are you serious, Jeremy?
With music, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go as big as possible. But I feel like we might be slowing down, but only for a brief time. Like, just got to catch our breath. Nate's got some personal things he's working on. Not anything like, well, maybe it's mental stuff. No, like his where he's living and stuff just needs to be winterized and get ready for winter and stuff. And so really, August isn't a very busy month for us, and it's
Really?
on purpose so that just to give him time to get.
No, that's
Get
not
stuff done
festival
before-
season for you guys.
It is, but sometimes you just gotta
Yeah.
lay low.
You
even
guys
if-
did the big Cavendish music,
Yeah.
country music festival.
Well,
Was it
so
last summer?
here's a cool story about Cavendish. That was so Hearts of Kin. They're from Cape Breton. They're going to be our opener at the album release show June 1st, and that's where we met them was Cavendish. We knew of each other ahead of time, and we just bonded instantly. And then it just worked out that we were playing Kemp Shore Music Festival the following weekend, which is camping. And you play like 3 sets, one a day, so you're there all weekend hanging out. So, yeah, we got to know them quite well that weekend. Drank and played music the whole time, and so now like we're close enough. Like we've been to like Amy and I have stayed with one of them and her partner, Brent and Danielle, and it's great. Like, yeah, it's just a lot of fun. They're the female version of us, and we're the male version of them. Like. You'll see June 1st.
Not hard to confuse with the big beards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should see their beards. Just joking. They'd be laughing.
So the future is just kind of wide open. Do you guys have like a strategy or a plan, or like? Because for me, I find like if I can get back on my heels, like if I get a little bit discouraged and try to like protect the things I've done, or rest on the things I've done, I can kind of get in a little bit of a funk.
Right.
Me. I always have to have. I always feel like for me to be my best, I need to have goals and targets.
Yeah.
Because like some of the most depressed I've ever been is when I've reached all my goals, and it's not like I'm super ambitious.
Oh, I know
it's
what you
just
mean.
that sometimes I'm so insecure I set my goals too low.
Yeah.
Right. So like I think I was like a year into the company when I had reached all my goals, and I was in a funk. I'm like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah. Well, my goal is to not be successful, at least not too quick. So I don't know. No, I'm just joking. Well, I think the tricky part is Nathan has a few different elements in his life that kind of naturally slow him down a little bit more. and then I don't have those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
and he's married, and I mean, I'm committed to
Yeah.
Amy, and
Yeah.
and I want to balance it well enough. I mean, luckily she loves music and loves going out to shows, but I don't want to gig so much that it
Yeah.
pushes her away either.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I tend to want to do things a little bit faster, maybe too fast sometimes. But in other areas, I'm way too slow. But when it comes to music, I want to boom, 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 boom. But Nathan can't. Not because he's not able, but he's just not in the position to do
You
that.
do a lot of shit
So-
behind the scenes that you putting in a lot of work between shows and stuff like that. Like,
And
more
that's
the
fun.
business
I
side of
enjoy
things.
it, but
Yeah.
we're not making enough money where I can just every day I'm just working the behind the scenes, and it's
Right.
it does get to be a bit much with full-time work, but that's the balance between the two of us. He's the better songwriter, lyricist, and I help out on the song when and where I can. Doesn't mean that I haven't written majority of songs, but excuse me. But yeah, I'm just a little more tech savvier than he is, so it just makes sense that I take care of
Keep the
that
thing
stuff.
on the tracks
Yeah.
and moving forward and hitting
Yeah, and
deadlines
it
and stuff like
it
that.
can get frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
He maybe it's the same for him. Maybe sometimes he wishes that I could pump out songs better or more
Yeah.
often, and
Well, a great
sometimes
partnership.
and sometimes I wish that he was a little bit more tech savvy, because sometimes when I get overwhelmed with stuff, it'd be nice to be, oh man, can you just reply to these 20 emails and or whatever. He does what he can though.
I don't think people realize how much work it takes to pull off anything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all
And
the
if
shit
we
you
were
do
the
behind
same,
scenes.
we'd be butting heads all the time.
Yeah, yeah. But like anything, like
Yeah.
what we do, like people don't. They just come to the restaurant and see what happens
Yeah.
in the four walls of the restaurant. They
Yeah.
don't see all the other shit.
Yeah, just like most people will see a full parking lot and assume that you're profitable.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Or
It
your
doesn't always
venue-
mean that's
oh,
the
then Tide and
case.
Timbre are rich. I hear.
Yeah.
They sold out the roof hound. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Real rich.
real rich. Yeah, pay for your gas and
Yeah, you made it win.
a new set of strings.
Hey, that's a bonus now.
But it's a hard balance, isn't it? 'Cause
It is hard.
because you gotta have the ambition and the focus to get anywhere,
And
and you gotta have a balance in your life. Because if you're success but your life's a mess, if your body's a wreck and your relationships are a mess,
exactly.
like, what's the good of that?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
For me, the consistent thing for me has been music, though. So, like, if things aren't going so well in life, I can always pick up my guitar. Even if it's something really big, or even if it's just a small fight or whatever, there's always music that's always been my hobby. I don't really have hobbies. That's the closest thing I have to it, but I don't really consider it a hobby. I just consider it life.
Well,
It's
it's
like air or
Yeah,
water. Like
yeah.
it's a necessity. Like the amount of times I've gotten out of practice lately just because it's been busy, but normally I would play guitar at least a half an hour every day, sometimes more, but sometimes 10 minutes is enough. And it's not always because I want to or feel like it. It's just because it's routine. It's just what I do. I'll sit on the couch. Oh, the guitar. Grab it. And even if I'm bored of it and don't even want to, I'll pick it up. And then I'm like, that's usually when I discover something new, is when I don't even want to pick it up because I'm just bored.
But is it
But I'm just like,
is it a comfort thing maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it definitely is, because if you're out on stage and you're asked to sing along to a song and you don't really need to play the guitar, it's weird
Yeah.
standing there without a guitar. Like
What to do
you
with my
feel
hands.
naked without
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was a bass player for years, so I can feel like I'm a dancer with a bass in my hand. But
Right.
take away my bass and ask me to dance with a girl, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, but like, I read a book last summer called Dopamine, the Molecule of More.
I
probably told
read
you.
that.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating, right? Because they
Yeah.
talk a lot about how the creative process, because there's some unhealthy ways to get your dopamine rush, right? But like one of the most healthy for you is creative endeavors.
Right.
So like people that are dealing with like anxiety, and I think a lot of artists deal with anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And then having that regular creative outlet, I think is huge. So
I agree 1,000,000%.
1,000,000%.
1,000,000%. But I also think at some point you have to use the negative for good. And I don't mean that cliche wise. I mean as in you have to start practicing using the negative crap as your sign to make a flip here. So if you spend 10 hours banging out music all day, by the end of it, you feel weird. You feel out of it kind of, because you, depending on the song, but it could be a real emotional roller coaster, you know, or you might, if I'm sitting down working on even the calendar for the year, booking up gigs and stuff, it can get a little overwhelming at times. And if you so if I start to get really like, that's my cue to, just do something different.
Yeah.
Take a 5-minute break. Go for a run. Go do something.
Yeah.
Get your head out of this space. Because if you stay there, you're going to stay there longer. And you're going to wonder why now you're shaking nervously because you're having a full-on panic attack.
Let's talk about the running in a minute, but because like the whole self-care thing is huge. It's something I've learned a lot about. But the whole dopamine creative endeavor, like my mom suffers from like chronic pain. So if I've noticed over the years, if she's like kind of not doing any projects or anything, she can be physically in pain, sitting in the chair, can barely move. But if that old lady has a quilt to make or some room to paint, you can't stop the bitch.
Yeah.
She just goes like crazy. Like really, like we were renovating the restaurant here last year, and she's 65 then, and she was out working all of her other servers in their 20s. Up and down a ladder because she was so excited about it, right? Like she's getting these dopamine hits, and the physical pain is like reduced.
Yeah.
The inflammation and stuff is reduced. And and it took me a while to kind of convince her, like, Mom, when you have a project, when you got something creative, when you're painting or you're quilting or you're decorating something, she's invincible.
Yeah.
Absolutely invincible.
It's
And
almost,
it's the chemicals. It's the way you train your brain. It's the way I think a lot of people need to embrace that or understand that, right? Like Ben has a great creative outlet as well, right? Like painting and art. He did this artwork here.
That's cool.
Writing short stories and stuff like that. I think having that creative outlet is enormous. And like I have some creativity in my job, which I'm grateful for.
You're
like
super creative.
Creating beer and this and stuff like that. But having like not only being creative process, but having goals. Like you can set like a really big goal, and you get these dopamine trickles. Like every step of the way towards that goal, you're getting healthy dopamine shots, and it keeps you in a different space. Because during COVID, running a restaurant during COVID was one of the hardest phases of my life.
Try eating that one.
Because before COVID, like 2019, my life was upward trajectory. You know, we opened a second restaurant, like everything was going great. We had won a gold medal brewing year or two before that.
Olympics. I didn't know where you were going
Don't
with
get
this
us
gold.
canceled,
I didn't
Jeremy.
know
Don't
where
get
you
us
were going with
canceled.
this gold medal.
But really, like I was on this high, like things were going great, and then everything gets shut down.
Yeah.
And you're, instead of building and dreaming, because what are you going to do during that? You're just in this protective mode. You're just trying not to lose everything.
Yeah.
And I was terrifying, like your relationships, your money, everything you've built, your
Well, that's
clothes.
where I'm kind of at now.
Yeah.
It's almost like COVID took this long to catch up to go, your life's a little messed up now. Because not all industries, but some are super slow right now.
Yeah.
And like, we thrived during COVID because everyone was doing projects at home. So hardware stores were staying open. So then therefore,
You mean in your day job?
Yeah. So then molding, all
But the
that
band
stuff.
wasn't doing great during
No,
COVID.
the band
'cause
wasn't.
there's no live
but I was
events.
starting to suffer burnout. And so when things shut down, I was like, I didn't play guitar. And then we got asked to do a couple of Facebook Live things, and that was a struggle to do those. But once we did like 2, and I was like, oh, done. Like we did them for benefits, but we didn't do one for ourselves. We didn't just be like, hey, we're going to go live tonight and try to make some money. It was just like, no, don't care.
Because you get into funk.
Yeah.
When
I needed to be in that funk, though.
Did you?
Yeah. Because if you stay in it too long and force yourself out of it, sometimes you just have to just take it and just stay as positive as you can and know that you're going to come out the other side better, different, but better. But then I ended up suffering real burnout later because, well, then my day job, there was a big fire.
Right.
Like it just, anyway, it was just a lot to take in. And then at the same time, we were getting gigs like even during the week. So I'm like, would have to worry about, all right, I have to be done work at 5. Nate's got to pick me up.
No fires.
Yeah,
We have
so
time for fire
Nate,
shit.
He's picking me up at the plant, and I got my work clothes on, but I'm hopping in the passenger seat, changing.
Still smelling like timber.
Still
You're
smelling
bringing.
like timber. And, you know, and it's fast-paced, and that's fun. It keeps you awake and all, but then it doesn't really leave you a whole lot of time to process things. So then when you do finally process it, you're just like, just knocks the wind out of you. So I slept for like a week, canceled a bunch of gigs. So
Yeah, burnout is a thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Had to try to, like if we played in the city, had to try to make sure we made enough money to at least get a hotel. So even if we didn't make a ton of money at the end, it was just like, yeah, but
Building
don't
the
rush
name.
up, play for 3 hours, then rush home.
Right.
Just go rest, lay down.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get a good night's sleep, it's better than forcing yourself to stay awake and driving for 3 hours and then being completely, but anyway,
Yeah. It's
it's serious stuff.
It is. It's hard to know what speed to go at.
Yeah,
you
but
gotta
it's
have-
funny. That's when I knew I was getting better, though, because then it was like, all right, well, don't do that again, but pedal to the metal. Let's do more.
Yeah.
Because I think there's that sense of growth that comes with it. You've just stretched yourself to this brink. So now you know what to do to avoid falling off of this cliff. Let's climb a little higher, make the cliff a little higher, but just recognize the signs, though.
Yeah.
And I
Know
mentioned
your
running
balance.
earlier. That's looking back. That's when I knew something wasn't right because I had a hard time finishing what's normally an easy run, and I just didn't have the energy for it. I was like, man, this is weird. And I had to walk the final kilometer back to my vehicle. Just like, I wasn't bummed out because I'm pretty good at staying aware of, you let your body, you let your mind dictate as much as it's safe to, but then eventually you got to let the body dictate what the mind tells you. You know what I mean? So like when you first start running, it might hurt.
There's a certain amount of mind over matter.
Right. But
And
then there's a
a
certain
point
matter
where you,
over mind
Yeah.
where it's like, no,
But
I can't force this.
But most people don't discipline themselves enough to get to that spot. I don't find.
No, and I definitely
Because I
didn't
know
when I
I
was younger.
thought I
It
knew
was
where my line
laziness.
was.
It was
Right.
laziness.
I thought I knew where my line was or what my body was physically capable of. But I knew I would. I know now I was bitching out long before it. Nothing taught me that like the cold plunge. Like you really find out what you're made it of. And I remember, when was it you started running? Like at the level you do? Because you run like
Yeah, I don't
long
run
distance.
as much now because
No?
I screwed up my knee. That's a matter over mind.
I remember
deal.
seeing you would run in like every condition.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I
Just because
was-
you had to.
and I would keep it going. And what? And this is one of those cues, I'd get home from work, and it'd be a nice day for a winter day. Like, I should run today. Oh, I'm feeling lazy. Don't go. The next day, be like hail, snow. Be like, you got to run in this because today's run day, and
Yeah.
you idiot, you bitched out yesterday.
Yeah.
Should have went yesterday when it was better conditions. Now look what you did.
Yeah.
So then,
So
off
what
you
would
go.
you do like every other day? Was that your goal?
Yeah, or sometimes it was just kind of like 20 to 25 clicks a week.
Okay.
So depends on the run.
But you got a target. You're sticking with it.
Mm-hmm. And so now I'm just trying to get back to being able to run like a 5K a week. Because it was getting to the point where you soon realize, like, okay, that's great. You can run 30 kilometers in a week. But are you better off running, like 5K 3 times, or break it down even more and just do like 3K a few times? Like, what's easier on the body? Because, the longer you run, the more days you need to recover.
Right.
Because, the competitiveness, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to run like 40 kilometers this week, or I'm going to run 20 today and run 20 in a couple days, and I'm going to kick its ass.
Yeah.
No, there's just, the longer you run, the longer you need to rejuvenate the body. And so then so if you run a half marathon, which is 21.3 kilometers, if you do that one night, you're probably going to need to take at least 2 to 3 evenings off. So there's your 21 kilometers. You're almost at and you only went once. But it might be easier on the body if you just did 5 today, 5 tomorrow, because you don't need as much time to recover.
So what did that do for you? So you're working a full-time job. You are in a band, and you still felt the need to do that. Like, why did you need to do that?
Because I hated running growing up. I was only ever in really good shape because I loved basketball. So I always got in shape just from playing. So
it's not just because you look like Forrest Gump with the beard and the hat.
Or not just because I act like him.
I love Forrest Gump. Best movie ever.
But in gym class, we would have to run. I think it was 3K. And I think some people, if they wanted, could run 5Ks. I don't know if we were ever like made to do the 5K. Maybe once. But I faked it. The gym teacher would hang out outside, and we would have to run around a cove. So he could see everybody from where. So he didn't have to go on the run himself, but he could see, oh, yep, they all made it to the end of the fence. They're coming back. I would just move my arms to make it look like I was running. And I'd run some of it, but I didn't run the whole thing.
Okay, so this is your childhood experience.
Yes, I hated running.
So then fast forward to your grown-up.
So just before COVID, I was already like, you know what? I should start running, working out, get myself in shape, because I was just so lazy, and just didn't push myself when I was younger.
And so why are you feeling like you need to do that now as an adult?
I don't really know. I think it was because I wanted to prove that I wasn't lazy. I was kind of pissed off that it's kind of like English class. When you're a kid, you don't, I don't care about 1984.
Right.
I don't care about these classes, whatever.
I would love
and then as
to
you
sit
get
down and
older,
read
you're like,
1984
oh man, these are pretty cool books.
Yeah.
And
you don't appreciate the history lessons.
No, and the only book that made me realize that I was going to realize that later was Call of the Wild. That was like the only real book I read in high school. I was like, man, that's a cool book.
Maybe we should do it backwards. Maybe we should send the kids to work and the grown-ups should go to school.
Yes.
Maybe that's child labor. I don't know.
And that's when I started to realize, so later when I was looking back, it's like, man, I should have paid more attention. Because I really did find certain classes interesting. Yeah. But you're a teenager, you're into sports. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. I just want to do the bare minimum.
But you wanted a challenge.
Wanted the challenge.
Challenge yourself.
I didn't want to just keep going through life half-assing it.
So I remember...
I may only have a half an ass, but that's just because I was born that way.
You ran it off. Yeah.
That's not my fault.
But I remember when you took up the running, and you were really proud of it, and you were telling me about it, and you were showing me pictures. I saw Facebook or Instagram or something like that, and you were going on all these conditions, and it was like this new sense of like pride and strength, like a mental strength. I'm like, damn, Jeremy,
because it's boring.
Because the running's boring?
Yeah, it's pretty boring. So it's a mental game. You got to keep yourself occupied while you're running.
Well, I remember, was it David Goggins?
I started reading them right after I started I might have gone for one run, maybe two, but they weren't very good ones. I started walking for at least a couple months because I was really out of shape condition wise.
Yeah.
Like, I was really
Because you
bad.
played ball for
for
ever
years
and
and
would
years.
run for all
And
day.
so that was also part of it. I was like, if I'm not going to play ball anymore, I still got to stay in shape because I'm used to being in shape. So, and then I read David Goggins' first book that he released, and I was like, oh,
that
I
can't
could
hurt me?
kind of, I was like,
really
I kind
good book for people. if you
relate
wanna-
to him, not to that extreme, but I relate
well, who
to
can do it to the extreme?
right.
There's one guy that does that to
Yeah,
the extreme, and it's
that's
David
him.
Goggins. Yeah.
And the goal was to just run 5K because that was what the gym teacher wanted us to run in high school. So I was like, I never ever did it.
They, oh yeah, Jim
I want to
teacher.
at least by September I want to be able to run 5K.
Yeah.
And by September I had ran, I think, like 15K quite a few times and a couple half marathons and I was just doing that after work. I'd just go home, eat something, and wait a half hour, go run for 2 hours. And that was what was cool to me. I'm like, man, I just ran for 2 hours straight.
2 hours.
That's stupid and cool all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Because how many people do you know that just left their workplace, that went home and decided to spend their evening running for 2 hours? So I just felt like I had an edge over people. And like, I used to go down on the beach and run in the sand, or like, I wouldn't like run long distance. Well, no, I did on rocks and stuff, but I would run to basically when the sand ran out, I would stop and do like maybe 7 or 8 push-ups, run to the other end, do 7 or 8. It's not very many push-ups, but I would run enough that by the end of the night, I did 200 push-ups.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I felt pretty good. You're running in sand. It's hard and things like that. And I don't know. There was just something about it that I loved, and I loved the fact that there was no one else there. And so I'd be like, man, you're slow. This would be myself talking to myself going, you're awfully slow. You're not very fast. But you may not be the fastest, but you're the fastest one out here.
It's the only one.
Because I'm the only one out here.
Because right now it's hailing and everyone's in
Because
bed.
right now no one else is
Right.
doing this.
So there's a sense
At
of
least
pride
not
with that.
here.
So there's like,
Yeah.
I find pushing your own limits is like so important.
Yeah.
So important. Like the older
Yeah.
I get, like the more I realize about like the discipline. Because when I was younger, I struggled with depression. Addicted to my depression, probably. Like days when you just don't want to get out of bed. So there was days as a grown up, I would stay in bed. Now, like I listen to like the advice of Jordan Peterson, get up, make your damn bed.
Yeah.
So I get up, I make my bed, I put my coffee on, I go to the cold plunge, just do the nasty shit.
Yeah.
Because you start the day like that and you feel like a winner. It's like,
Yeah.
I've made my bed, inconvenient, ain't doing it, but I've done it.
Yeah.
Hard to get out of a warm bed and get into a cold plunge, but I fucking done it.
Yeah.
Hard to like check these emails. I don't want to deal with emails, but you've done it. And just older I get, the more I realize there's a lot of freedom and strength in doing the hard shit and not avoiding it. And Conor McGregor said something recently too. He was in the gym. He's all sweaty and shit. And he's like, when you say you're going to get up and you don't, you feel like a loser. When you say you're not going to eat something and you do, you feel like a loser.
Yeah.
I said I was sick and tired of feeling like a loser. So now when I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yeah.
Instead of getting a long list of little losses,
Yeah.
you get a long list of little wins. And people don't realize how important those are, but
And
it
that's what
programs your brain.
routines
A
are for.
routine. If you say you're going to do it, you fucking do it.
Yeah.
And now you've got a long list of little wins that lead you to the big wins.
Yeah.
Because then when you go into the next big challenge, you've got that confidence. It's like, I know I've done cold therapy every day since October, except for 3 days when I had pneumonia. And I was forbidden. I had to sneak
Probably
to the
the big
cold
deal.
plunge. I took 3 days off. I had to sneak to my cold plunge because my mom was looking on the back step. But that's a discipline I'm really proud of because that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But embracing that and just the mental clarity and
Yeah.
this mental strength of doing hard things consistently and beating it and knowing you can beat it.
Yeah.
Like if people are struggling,
And
take
that's
a
what-
hard thing and
that's
just do it.
Exactly what running did for me.
Yeah.
Like if I'd look at my to-do list like on a Saturday and I'd feel like I didn't know how to get started, well, go run.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's soon. And
'Cause
then
you
I
come
get-
back to that
I
to-do
get
list
back,
with a
look at
different
it, and then
mentality.
Boom. I know
Yeah.
exactly where to start. I know
Right.
exactly what the priorities are because you get trapped in your head.
Yeah.
oh, I should do that. No, I should do this. No,
Yep.
I should do no, I don't know.
I've done the same thing, yeah. And like, whoa, first thing I need to do, cold plunge,
Yeah.
stretch, workout. Then
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
So my new goal now, though, is to get into basketball shape. Not to necessarily play, but because the knee can't really handle the long distance runs. I think I can get back to running maybe a 10K every few weeks. That'd probably be healthy. But I think, I'm going to start doing like line drills and defensive stances, running around that way. Just because that's the stuff that really gets the heart rate, those types of sports that get the heart rate up really quick. And then you get to stop from it, like that's, running a marathon, it's not easy by any means, because the beauty of running long distance is it's a completely different, because the first 10 steps could feel one way and the next 10 steps are going to feel completely different. And then you might have ankle stiffness. So then you got to adjust the way you're running, the way you're where you're putting your weight. There's this constant, and I love that, but I don't run them fast enough to get the heart rate really, really up there. Because, there's days you have to recognize when to let your heart rate dictate your pace and when you can allow your pace to dictate your heart rate. So if you're in pretty good shape, you can probably run at whatever pace you want, and you're dictating your heart rate because you can handle it. But if you're not in really good shape yet, you probably want to listen to the ticker.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to.
But the point is, you're doing it and you're moving forward. Yeah. I ran today for the first time in almost a year, because about a year ago I was like too skinny and I just needed to bulk up a little bit, and my joints were in pain. I wasn't feeding. I was very stressed out. Wasn't eating properly and stuff like that. So I took a year off, and I was like, I know I'm a little bit worried about, not really worried, but a little bit of anxiety, excitement about this. I'm like, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to do my run. I'm going to come back. I installed a cold shower outside because it's getting
I saw that on Instagram.
it's too warm now for the cold plunge, but I got this outdoor shower that only has a cold tap. That way I can't bitch out. Only one tap on that motherfucker. When I came back and I got in that, and then I did some yoga and stuff. And it's like, hey, I got my head on straight. I've done the hard thing, but like I was shocked not running in a year. Yeah, how it's difficult, but
you know what? You're on your feet every day here too, so I don't think.
But the cardio,
someone like yourself, you're probably never in as bad a shape as you think. You might not be in great cardio, but
like a year ago, I just wasn't eating enough.
Yeah,
and I'm lifting kegs, and like my arm is messed up, my back is messed up, so. Like growing up where we grew up, a lot of men our age were working mink ranches, sawmills, and their bodies were broken. Yeah, and that's what they did. And they're in their 40s, and their bodies are broken. So I just grew up thinking, when you get to that age, you're just fucked up. Yeah, and you just take it easy, and you just don't do this and you don't do that, and then you off to the sunset, and then you die. That's what I thought. That's really what I thought. So here, like a year ago, and I'm in so much pain, I just thought, I got to take it easy on the back. I got to take it easy on the shoulder. And then I realized that it wasn't eating enough. I got like a food coach and a nap, got enough protein so I could have my body and my muscles and joints like being built up. And then I got the yoga, got things stretching, got things loosened up, and then the weight training. And now I'm like, it's like I've reversed 10 years. Like my flexibility and strength, like I can lift kegs now. And it's
with your legs.
It's like it's easy again. Like it's amazing. So you can't like think you can't.
No, exactly. I joke off the time, we're in our 40s now. Sometimes I'm too old for that, but I don't really believe that at all. Because I really do think that I can be in basketball shape again. But I do know my body well enough to know that I can't play basketball for 2 or 3 hours every night, but I could probably take part in the pickup game every now and then. But that's just more to do with playing for so long. The body's just but the ankles are stiff, the knees are stiff. It takes a long time to warm up. So by the time my body's warmed up, ready to go, everyone else is done. So, well, see you, Jeremy. We're leaving now. It's like, I'm just getting there,
all the
guys.
youngsters. Yeah. But our bodies evolved to do amazing shit. And we don't push them like we should. No. And I think we're being killed by our comfort. we take it too easy. And there's something about our mind and our body that really benefits by pushing the limits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, back to the Bible for a minute.
Yeah.
I remember the few times that I spoke at chapel. I don't remember the past. It was somewhere in the book of Romans. I do remember that much. But it had something to do with the mind and the hands, and, you know, I don't remember exactly. So I probably took it out of context then. I'm probably going to take it out of context now. But I remember using the analogy of golf. So if your current swing is preventing you from being a better golfer, that means you have to change your swing. But you can't just change your swing. You can't just physically it's change. Like, well, no, that change started here first. Like, you have to tell your body, no, keep doing this. No, I got to do this now, or I got to, you know, I go shoot hoops still to this day, and I'm like, why are you missing these shots? Oh, I forgot to do this little trick that I do with my left hand. Like, oh, that's, you know, it's a constant mind telling the body what to do, how to do it. And you'd think eventually you'd train your body enough that it just would do it automatically. Yeah. Sometimes it does, but sometimes you have to give it a pep talk. But back to the weight thing, you had mentioned like a year ago, your weight was down. That actually was one of the reasons that got me into running. Was I was underweight, and I know most people run to lose weight, but my thinking was I was stressed, had gone through a breakup and things like that, and I was eating. I wasn't eating well, but I was just sitting there, even though I wasn't like hungry all the time, but I'm just sitting there. It's like, okay, you're like 10, 12, 13 pounds underweight, which I'm skinny. I can't afford to be there for long. It's like, you got to do something here. So I figured running would increase like leg muscle, which would up my weight, but it would also increase my appetite. Yeah,
probably lower your anxiety, so you do want to eat.
Exactly. So it regulated me.
Yeah.
And I gained, it took a while, but I put 12 pounds on. Yeah. And I was like, there. And that's, obviously it's different for everybody, but for skinny mini like me, that's, you know, if you want to gain a little bit of weight, you have to do stuff, whether it's weight training or running or something like that, and then put the calories to you. Yeah.
Got to get the calories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like through COVID, it was so stressful. I couldn't eat. And I'd have to like smoke a little weed at night, like 11 o'clock at night, just to have dinner, go to bed. And then I was only eating like once a day. And then about a year ago, I had grown a beard through the winter, and then it's getting warm and itchy, so I shave it. And then I looked in the mirror, and I didn't realize how much weight I'd lost. And I looked like my grandfather, right? Yeah. And he had died of cancer just like a couple years before that. So I shaved this beard, and I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, oh my God, Glenn Barr looking back. He looks like my grandfather died of cancer. Like, I am not well. Like, my eyes were dark, my face was sunken. I'm like, I got to do something serious here, because this is gonna kill me. Yeah. Yeah. I was down to 185, and I'm like almost 6'6", so that's pretty skinny. Yeah. I'm really close to like 200 pounds now, but I was only eating about 1,200 calories a day. And then I get to food coach, I'm supposed to be eating 4,000 calories. Like, people, we don't know much about nutrition at all. Like, you can survive, but you're not in good shape. Yeah, especially if you're working physically. Yeah, exactly. You got to have that protein and fat.
We're both fairly, I mean, you're still bigger than I am. Who isn't? But I would guess that 200 is probably a healthy weight for you.
I think I should be closer to 215 for my height.
Yeah.
Well, according to body mass index, who knows, right?
But I don't believe in the body mass index, because it really is just a general blanket thing. Because, well, I'm trying to think here. Michael Jordan, 6'6", and when he was in his prime was 215. Yeah. But I feel like he's probably a little bit bulkier than you are, like a little thicker.
He can still take flight, though, for 215.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I feel like you're basically the same height as him, but a different build. Yeah. Completely different build. And everyone, I really do think that everyone's body has a natural, healthy, neutral zone where they're at their best at a
Yeah.
certain.
It takes experiment.
It's different
you
for
gotta
everyone.
have a little education and experimentation
Right.
to find out just what is.
Because then there's
I
some
had no
6'6"
idea.
guys that are like weighing 300
Oh, I
pounds,
know. I
and they're
had-
not even fat.
I would
You know,
never
they're like,
thought that I was starving myself. Just didn't think
Yeah.
because I ate good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I take time to cook. I just didn't realize. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
so
cooking
important.
at like 11 o'clock, 12
Yeah.
o'clock at night when
Yeah.
the bar closes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wasn't healthy.
no.
Yeah.
No,
It's,
no.
it's like everything. It's discipline.
Yep.
It's discipline.
That's honestly, I love working for the routine.
Mm.
Like probably 6 or 7 years ago, I had really bad anxiety, and it would only happen certain days of the week, and I still don't even really know what was triggering it. It just happened to be Sundays. I didn't hate my job, but like it was
Yeah.
just a weird.
It's like when you would stop for the week. That's when the anxiety would hit.
Yeah, it was and it was going into Monday. It was coming back, but it didn't make sense because I was kind of looking forward to Monday because it's like, there, I had enough time off on the weekend. It's time to get back at it. But then I'd lay in bed and like shake.
I don't think
couldn't
anxiety
sleep,
always
and-
does make sense. It's hard to figure out.
No, and so I went to a doctor and got. Can't remember the name of the drug, but basically knocked me out. And like she said, just take half hour before bed and just do that for 6 weeks just to get yourself back on track. I haven't touched them since. But yeah, I had really bad anxiety, and I forget where I was going with this now. What were we talking just before that?
Discipline.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it was work that helped, because it'd be like, as soon as I got to work, start my shift, the hands are busy, the mind's busy, and within an hour,
Yeah. You get a
There.
distraction.
I
Yeah.
can breathe.
Mm.
I'm in my comfort zone
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah.
So don't let me go home.
There's a lot of
No,
talk
I'm
about
just joking.
now. I mean, we hear about mindfulness stuff, right? Like just to slow down, like meditation and mindfulness, like slow down and let shit process a little bit. It's hard to do.
It is, and everyone's different with that
But
too.
running is kind of a form of that too, because
Yeah.
you're just running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it totally weeds everything right
Yeah.
in. Because you're really not thinking
Right.
about. You're only thinking about the things that matter in the moment. Oh, my knee hurts. Oh, my ankles are stiff. Oh, I can't breathe right
Yeah.
now.
It's good to have a little bit of break
Yeah.
from all the stresses and stuff.
So even before I read David Goggins' book, I already wasn't listening to music or anything. Never ever took headphones or anything like that, because I was like, no, I'm going to be too stubborn. I'm going to be stubborn on this because I want to think my way through it. And if it's mind over matter, then it's not. You're not saying much about mind over matter if you're allowing your brain to get distracted with the music. To me, that's just my personal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I just ran 15K. Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
even realize it. No, I want to take it all in. If it's boring and I feel like, oh, this is taken for, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want it to go by quickly if it's not, I don't want to fake it, because I did that in high school. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
I want it to be real.
Want it to be hard.
Yeah. But I don't think you should go out of your way and make every element in your life hard though either. Because life is hard on its
Definitely
own.
a balance.
But there's,
and
I think
we instinctively know what we need.
yeah, and I just think everyone's probably got at least one thing that's hard that they don't want to do,
Yeah.
that you should do.
Yeah.
Outside of the chores around the
Right.
house, like that crap. But
Well,
like
I
whether
know
it's
from-
working out, running, cold plunge, maybe it's all those things. But most of us don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
We don't make a living podcasting or being in a band. So I don't, cold plunge now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to work out for 3 hours. Oh, I'm going to go for a 10-kilometer and do all that in one day. Like, we just don't have that luxury to do that many hard things in a day. But
I've had to be disciplined about that kind of stuff, but I've had to arrange. I had the chance to arrange my life around that kind of stuff.
I mean, work sucks.
I love work.
I do too, but it still sucks. I mean, there's days like, I'd rather be playing guitar today.
Yeah.
I'd rather be home working on this, or, I got just recently trying to get in the practice of writing ideas down. Because sometimes when you work night shift, you think up some really weird, bizarre shit. So I was like, I need to start writing this stuff down. But anyway, like you were saying how Ben, you write short stories or like essays or like you do a little bit of writing and
I
stuff?
do a little writing, yeah, short story, stuff like that.
Yeah, like that's something that I'd like to dive into. But it's because I think it'll benefit music and help me write better songs. And making music videos kind of makes you a little intrigued with making a short film too. Someday, maybe. Like just a 10-minute, but just write something for it and see if between the writing and the visuals, you can really make something connect with people.
Yeah. And you can just do it.
Yeah.
You're a musician.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
Today I became a podcaster.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way. We should have a drink to that.
Ben's a writer. Like you
Cheers, Ben.
you can just do shit, right? You can just go and do shit. And that's what I want to really highlight with this whole bar talk thing, Like we got some really cool guests coming in that are people are making turning hobbies into careers.
Yeah.
And, it's so cool.
It is cool. I think the generations before us are gonna, I don't know, I think they're pretty smart people. And I don't think the future's as bleak as you would
I
think
hope
when
not.
you pay attention to, the news and things like that. So I don't think the younger generations get enough credit for what they're dealing with right now but also what they know. Like the crap they're learning. Like that shit we didn't have to learn when we were,
Yeah.
we just had to know how to turn a computer on. We didn't even really have to know how to use it. Just like, oh, this is how you turn it
I
on.
remember in class, you only go to the computer lab so often.
Right.
All these computers. And then you got to put the floppy disk in. And by the time the teacher, like a half an hour class, by the time the teacher gets around to all 12 set, because you had to share a computer, right?
Yeah.
There's this process. By the time you get all 12 computers on, it's time to turn those little bastards off. It's time for gym class. Like, we never really learned anything.
No, I'm still waiting for this website to load.
Yeah. Oh, I was before
That was
websites.
later, yeah. I think I was a grade
Black
7
screen
or
with
8
the green
years.
text. That's what I remember. And these little
I
floppy
remember that
things.
too.
Playing
All we
Oregon
ever
Trail.
learned.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do shit. We just turned them
Yeah.
on. It was time to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. The world has changed.
Yeah.
It
And
has
they've, I don't know, I've seen just as many lazy old people as I have young people.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfair to say that the younger generation doesn't want to work. But, I just think
I'm
people in
amazed.
general don't want to work. People in general do want to work. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
but it also just depends on what they're getting themselves
And what the
into.
examples they've seen.
Yeah.
And stuff. Like,
It's
I'm
just,
impressed by my kids. Like,
yes.
not to brag, but my kids are capable.
Oh, Lucas is
Young
way cooler than you are. Way cooler.
Definitely
I'm
is.
impressed too. How did
But
he
the
become so
things-
cool?
But it gives me some meaning for the shit that I've suffered, because he's just like me. He's like, I'd say my mini me, but as you pointed out, he's as tall or taller.
Yeah.
But like the stuff I'm learning in my 30s and 40s, I'm able to help him with like
Yeah.
18, 19 years old. So he's dealing with like anxiety and nutrition, and he's dealing with like attachment issues and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like so much younger. And it gives me like, okay, I didn't suffer these for nothing. I can help my kids like learn these things. There are some really capable, because when we were growing up, no one talked about mental health.
No.
Like emotional intelligence or anything like that. Like, because our parents were
Shit
raised
just
by
got real
people.
quiet.
Our parents were raised by people that came out of the wars and depression. So back
Yeah.
then, just keep them alive; they'll be fine, right? And
Yeah.
then their parents were like, "Yeah, well, it's the '80s. Like,
Yeah.
as long as they don't get abducted too long, we'll be yeah."
Did
they'll
you
be
ever
all
watch
right.
Peaky Blinders? Did you guys ever watch that
I
show?
never. You've told me to.
Yeah,
but I've
you
never
need to.
seen it. Yeah.
But there's a line in that show that actually it really helped me realize, like, oh yeah, that would be a huge difference. Why one generation would be different from another. So I mean, these are gangsters, right? And I think it's one of their nephews. They're kind of basically accusing him of being too soft or whatever. And then the leader, Thomas Shelby, says he didn't have the war. He's a different breed. He didn't grow up, he didn't go to France and fight, like he's just coming up the ranks in
Different
the family
operating system.
business,
Yeah.
right? And slightly entitled,
Yeah.
but rightfully so. He didn't go slug it out in
Yeah.
a legit war. And so you think back at like the stuff our parents would have gone through and the stuff their parents would have gone through, even if they didn't go off and fight in a war, but
They were raised in
they
that
were raised
world,
in that world, in
where-
that society.
and there was no safety nets back then. Like someone I want to get, like the whole social safety net thing has changed. Like you go back to the 50s and 60s, there was no like social services or
No.
there's none of that.
Yeah.
It was like you get the garden in or you don't,
Yeah.
and you make it through the winter or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's kind of fuck your feelings. We got to eat,
Right.
and there's a strength that comes with that, in a way.
Yeah.
That I think we could use a little more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not healthy in a lot of ways, but I think we've gone too far the other way now, where there's like backup, safety, entitlement for everything, and there's no responsibility.
Yeah,
We're
and
very
then on
low.
the flip side of that, everyone's we're almost too unselfish in that area, and then too selfish. Just
Yeah.
we want to hoard stuff for ourselves, you know. So it's Gary told me this one time. He's in our couple of our music videos. Gary Wilson. He said, I can't remember how many cords of wood he burns, but anyway, he said I always have an extra cord because you never know, your neighbor might need some.
That's definitely a different kind of mentality, right?
So that would work with the garden thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're really eating a lot of your food out of your garden, well, plant an extra row or two. Your neighbor might get hungry halfway through winter.
But we
You
don't
know?
think of that. We just go to the
No.
grocery store.
Yeah, exactly.
We've kind of had it too easy for a while. And I think that's even more reason why, because we've evolved that way. We spent most of human history struggling to have enough.
But the
and having
workplace evolved
physical-
that way too, though. Like, yeah, you're away from home to make a living now. You're not home raising cattle, raising your own food as bartering chips. You know, like money wasn't worth much then because it didn't matter as much,
Right.
really, because you
Yeah.
had your own cows.
It
You
would
had
only
your
be a
own-
small percentage of what it
Right.
took to sustain a family.
Right.
Yeah.
So what?
Because like
Not
when I was
that
gro-
it didn't matter. Obviously, you still needed a few pennies to go buy
Yeah.
some flour. Not saying it was easy to come
But
by.
I
that,
remember
but-
hearing stories like my great grandparents. You know, there was no mortgages in the 50s.
Yeah.
People bought the house. They didn't have car loans. You bought your cars. There was no payments.
Right.
And then they would have a garden, and they'd have the cattle, and they'd have that kind of stuff. And then the guys would go into the woods and work in the logging camps for the winter to get some cash.
Yeah.
And that cash would have your sugar and your flour and shit like that.
Right.
So it was like a very, probably the money part of their income was probably only like 15, 20% of
Right.
their overall
Probably. I wonder-
thing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
So, but now we're gone all day.
Now
You don't have
people
time for
spend,
farms.
Now people spend 10, 15% above their income. Yeah. Well, I guess it's all of us. I mean, look
Killing
at
it.
the price of everything. Yeah.
I consider myself a modern day success.
We're certainly filling the job description as for living in the time, aren't we? So how long have we done here, Ben? How long have we been in this?
1 hour and 40 minutes ish.
Oh, man, it feels like 4 hours. No, I'm just joking.
Feels like a million
it's been
years.
great.
It's been good. We wrapping it up?
Yeah, I think we
So
should.
let's
I'm
just
starting
say
to lose my voice because that
Yeah.
silly cold.
We've had 3 drinks. I got 3 drinks on the go, so it's time to
Yeah.
use the bathroom. But
Yeah,
let's just
definitely.
remind everybody about the upcoming stuff. So the CD launches
June 1st.
June 1st at the Taco Cat.
Smith's
Still tickets
Cove.
available. Where do you get
Yep. You can get them right at Taco Cat,
them? Okay.
or you can message Tide and Timbre or Taco Cat on Facebook,
Okay.
or you can buy the tickets online.
Yeah.
But so if you send us a message to say, hey, we want 3 tickets or however many you want,
Cool.
send me an e-transfer.
And the EP is called Feeling Pretty Good.
Feeling pretty good,
6
and that's
songs.
out today.
Yeah. Feeling pretty good
Digitally.
about it?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about
It's
it.
good.
Yeah. We've been sitting on it a long time.
Some of the
So,
songs I've known
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
the White Lightning music video has been out for how long?
Yeah.
Over a year?
Yeah, a couple.
Couple years, yeah.
And How About You's been out probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We were planning on releasing the album when the last video came out for Who Was the Girl. So we were thinking, all right, well, we'll release like 3 singles. The 3rd single will be what promotes the rest of the album. Just scheduling issues, couldn't get people's schedules to line up to get the photos done, the artwork done, and all this and that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anyone's fault. It just couldn't get everybody's shit to line up.
Sometimes you
It's
just got to embrace the
well,
timing
and when
of things too.
you don't have money and
Yeah.
you're not signed to a label,
Mm-hmm.
what's the rush?
Yeah, you don't have a publicist
Yeah,
or
so
record
it's-
producer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I would have rathered it come out then,
Mm.
but not necessarily. Everything happens for a reason. So.
Yeah. And Jeremy wrote the theme song for our podcast.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
yes, I
thank you
did.
very much for
You're
that.
very welcome.
Yeah.
I remember sitting down trying to purposely write a bluesy tune for you.
Yeah.
Just wasn't happening. My mind wasn't in that space at the time. And then I got this new guitar, and one day I was like, oh, I haven't plugged that into the computer yet, and just jammed and messed around. So that was like basically a first take, that tune. That's why the timing may not be perfect, but
It's good.
it's
Blues
captures a raw
It's
bluesy
supposed to be
kind of
raw.
feel.
It's like
Yeah.
this podcast, a little rough.
Yeah. So I came up with that little lick, and then it was like a few days later, I was like, oh, I bet that would work for the podcast.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
appreciate it, man.
cool.
So you're talking about making that into like a song?
Yeah.
Do you have
yeah.
a-
I
is
got
there-
like
is
a
there a name
melody
for this?
No, not
Not
yet.
yet?
Right
Okay.
now, it's just probably called Bar Talks,
think it's
maybe.
called
And that's fine.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool,
thanks
man.
so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It's fun being here.
We're going to have Nathan on sometime and talk about
that'll be
burning
fun.
cars and shit like that.
Yes, he's got all kinds of
You
stories, man.
won't have a chance to get a word
No,
in.
I'll just sit at the end of the bar and drink while he talks, and he can drive me home.
Let's hope he doesn't get arrested for anything he confesses in the podcast. All right,
Cool,
man.
right on.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, or if you'd like to support us, please visit Refound Brewing Company at 573 Main Street, Kingston, or buy our product wherever it's available, including our Foolishly Optimistic IPA at your local NSLC. Thank you.